tonight, thousands of people converged on Al-Hussein Public Park to take part in celebrations of the 100th anniversary of the Great Arab Revolt in the largest carnival the country witnesses. World powers reaffirmed the need to negotiate a two-state solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and say they will push on with efforts to get the two sides back on the table this year. Hundreds of migrants are rescued from a sinking ship off the island of Crete, while on the shores of Libya, bodies of at least 85 migrants who drowned trying to cross the Mediterranean were found washed up. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of the news. Celebrations of the 100th anniversary of the Great Arab Revolt continued today, with Amman witnessing the largest carnival. Thousands of people converged on Al-Hussein Public Park for Al-Nahda Festival, which kicked off at 10 in the morning and lasted until 8:30 in the evening. The main event of the ceremony was the Renaissance Parade, which started from the King Hussein Business Park to the King Hussein Park, featuring military shows. The festival included several activities that told the storyline of Jordan, as well as artistic and musical performances, bubble soccer and bungee jumping. Two air shows also took place, where the Royal Falcons, F-16s and Heritage aircraft participated in celebrating the centennial. Celebrating the occasion, the Greater Amman municipality built a historical corridor of the Great Arab Revolt inside the park, which mainly comprised a mural that displays the kingdom's history throughout the different eras. The festivities ended with fireworks show. The Great Arab Revolt began on June 5, 1916, and was declared by Sharif al-Hussein bin Ali on June 8, seeking independence from the Ottoman rule in the region, which resulted in creating a unified Arab army from Aleppo to Aden. France brought together foreign ministers from major powers to put Palestinian-Israeli peacemaking back on the international agenda and find enough common ground to bring the two sides back to the table by the end of the year. Representatives of 25 countries, as well as UN, EU and Arab League, attended the conference. But neither the Palestinians nor Israelis have been invited. France warned that a two-state solution to the conflict may soon be impossible. In his opening remarks, French President François Hollande said the upheaval across the Middle East meant previous Palestinian-Israeli peacemaking efforts were no longer as relevant, and major powers needed to work together to bring the two sides back to the table. Hollande said that in the end, it was up to the Palestinians and Israelis to make the courageous choice of peace. A final communiqué said all sides had reaffirmed the need for a negotiated two-state solution and that direct negotiations between the two sides should be based on existing UN Security Council resolutions. It warned that the existing status quo was not sustainable. Saudi Arabia's foreign minister said that the basis for any future peace plan between Palestinians and Israelis remained a 2002 Arab offer and urged Israel to accept it.
We believe, as does most of the world, that the Arab Peace Initiative is the best opportunity for resolving this long-standing dispute, and we hope that wisdom will prevail in Israel and that the Israelis will accept this initiative in order to extract our region from one of the major problems.
And And while the Palestinians welcome the French initiative, Israeli officials have said an international conference will not work and that only direct talks between the old foes can bring peace.
Step in the right direction what happened in Paris today. It's a message from the international community to the Israeli government that business as usual cannot continue, status quo cannot continue. I think President Hollande pinpointed the situation. Failure to produce two-state solution in 1967 between Palestinians and Israelis would mean that the day after will be the day for extremists. It's time now for the international community to put the framework required for peace.
Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign and Expatriate Affairs Nasser Joudeh said establishing an independent Palestinian state on pre-1967 lines with East Jerusalem as its capital is Jordan's top priority. Attending the Paris International Conference, Joudeh asserted the importance of stepping up efforts to breathe new life into the stalled peace process based on a two-state solution, international legitimacy, resolutions and the Arab Peace Initiative. Joudeh said Jordan supports serious peace negotiations that lead to a two-state solution with a clear commitment to a specific time frame which requires a halt in Israeli settlements, stopping attacks on civilians and all unilateral Israeli practices and violations in the occupied Palestinian territories, particularly in East Jerusalem. The Syrian army, backed by Russian airstrikes, has opened a major new front against Daesh, the third big assault on the group this week after Iraqi forces attempted to storm a city and a Syrian militia advanced with U.S. support. Heavy Russian airstrikes hit Daesh-held territories in eastern areas of Syria's Hama province near the boundary of Raqqa. The Syrian army had advanced some 20 kilometers and was now near the edge of the provincial boundary. Separately, U.S.-backed militia have been pressing a multi-pronged attack against Daesh in other parts of Raqqa province and neighboring Aleppo. This week, they began a push towards the city of Manbij near the Turkish border, aiming to seize the last 80 kilometers stretch of Turkish-Syrian frontier in Daesh control and cut off the group's main link to the outside world for manpower and supplies. If successful, the Manbij campaign would free some 40,000 civilians from Daesh control. The United Nations will ask the Syrian government on Sunday to approve airdrops and airlifts of humanitarian aid to besieged areas. Nearly 600,000 people are besieged in 19 different areas in Syria, according to the UN, with two-thirds trapped by government forces and the rest besieged by armed opposition groups and Daesh. UN aid chief Stefan O'Brien told the Security Council that the UN would ask permission from Syria to airdrop aid into besieged areas where only partial or no land access has been granted by the Syrian government. Yesterday, Syria gave the UN and the Red Cross approval to send humanitarian aid convoys into at least 11 of the 19 besieged areas during June, after the US and Britain called for airdrops. Border guards foiled an infiltration attempt late yesterday by two people who were trying to cross from Syria into Jordan. An official source at the Jordan Armed Forces Arab Army said border guards implemented rules of engagement taken in such cases, killing both the infiltrators. The source also said the army will exercise zero tolerance with any attempt aiming to jeopardize the national security. The International Organization for Migration said 700 people were believed to have been on board a boat that sunk off the coast of Crete, Greece, warning many could still be in the water after hundreds of migrants were rescued in a massive operation in the southern Mediterranean, but 4 bodies were also recovered. In total, 340 people were rescued by midday. There was no immediate information on the nationalities of the migrants or on the victims. Today's incident was the third in a week involving migrants' rescues of landing on the island of Crete. Meanwhile, on the shores of Libya, bodies of at least 85 migrants who drowned trying to cross the Mediterranean were found washed up on beaches near the city of Suwara. A Red Crescent official said most of the migrants appeared to be from sub-Saharan Africa, though their bodies were decomposed and it was not clear when they had drowned. The bodies of 2 children were among those recovered. The warm weather and calmer seas in the Mediterranean have led to a surge in recent weeks in the number of people trying to cross to Italy from Libya. The Louvre Museum in Paris moved artworks stored underground to protect them as the River Seine kept rising. In the early afternoon, the Seine level was at 6 meters, its highest level for over 30 years in central Paris. It was expected to reach 6.3 meters high in the evening and remain high over the weekend before a possible decrease early next week. The National Weather Service said the Greater Paris region had in May endured its wettest months since 1960. Here's more.
Tourists hoping to see some of the world's greatest artwork at the Louvre are feeling the disappointment as the museum shuts its doors in the face of rising water levels along the swollen River Seine.
Tomorrow we are going to leave, so we cannot visit.
The Louvre, along with the Orsay Museum, is moving some of its treasures from underground basements to higher floors, a precautionary measure amid forecasts that the river will peak at 6 meters, the highest level in 30 years. Days of torrential rain here and south of Paris have produced floods that have killed at least 2 people and forced thousands to evacuate. The Seine burst its banks earlier this week, flooding riverside shops and halting Paris's iconic boat tours. Residents are talking about the record flood of 1910 and are starting to get nervous.
It's a bit frightening, everything that's happening. We've been talking about the flood of 1910, and not too long ago they did flood drills, how to evacuate museums, people, etc. And in the end, it's happening now.
The army's been deployed to a Paris suburb near Orly Airport to evacuate stranded residents. The government says the floods may take several weeks to subside and that the retreating waters could then reveal more victims.
Where Italian luxury label Gucci presented its colorful and eclectic 2017 cruise collection at London's Westminster Abbey. Models strutted down the walkways of the cloisters, which date from the 13th and 15th century, in bold designs adorned with peacocks and snakes. Dressed sported lace and frills, skirts came in colorful check prints, and handbags were decorated with floral embroideries. There were also plenty of ruffles and polka dots. The Gucci show follows French fashion house Dior's cruise line presentation earlier this week. Cruise collections are outfit produced by stylists on top of seasonal lines. Ethiopia's Almaz Ayana ran the second fastest women's 5,000 meters in history as she missed out on the world's record by just over a second at the Rome Diamond League. World silver medalist Justin Gatlin won the 100-meter in a non-Diamond League race by edging fellow American Amir Webb. The time was slower than a meet record of 9.75 seconds set last year. World champion Wade van Niekerk of South Africa won the men's 400 in 44 and 19 seconds, while compatriot Caster Semenya equaled her world-leading time this year in the 800 with a comfortable victory. Olympic and world champion Greg Rutherford of Britain won the long jump with the season's best 8.31 meters and marked the register to take gold at London 2012. The International Olympic Committee unveiled its first ever team of refugees, which will have 10 members and 12 officials, and will compete at the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Games under the Olympic flag. IOC President Thomas Bach called it a historic day. The team includes 5 athletes from South Sudan, 2 from Syria, 2 from Democratic Republic of Congo, and 1 from Ethiopia. The athletes, 6 men and 4 women, will compete in the sports of swimming, judo, and athletics. And finally, a quick look at the weather. Clear skies and moderate conditions continue tonight across the kingdom. As for tomorrow, the country continues to be under the effect of a hot air mass, pushing temperatures above their seasonal average this time of year. Therefore, it will be hot and the wind southwesterly moderate to brisk, raising dust in the southern and eastern regions. The Gulf of Aqaba can expect hotter and drier conditions, hitting the low 40s, while winds will be northerly moderate and seas slightly high. Next are the lows and high for tonight and tomorrow. And to end the news, here's a recap of our top stories. Thousands of people converged on Al Hussein Public Park to take part in celebrations of the 100th anniversary of the Great Arab Revolt and the largest carnival the country witnesses. World powers reaffirmed the need to negotiate a two-state solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and say they will push on with efforts to get the two sides back on the table this year. Hundreds of migrants are rescued from a sinking ship off the island of Crete, while on the shores of Libya, bodies of at least 85 migrants who drowned trying to cross the Mediterranean were found washed up. And with this, we come to an end. I'm Farah Ajlouni. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.